A little earlier, we talked about the importance of changing up the matches, especially going to the same town, like in the heyday, like with the house shows. We just did an interview with Honky Tonk Man, and he said sometimes the agents sometimes would book out the same finishes with the same guys in the same town, and that the agents back then had their own agenda sometimes against the wrestlers. Do you find that accurate? Like he said, like Jay Strongbow and a couple other guys, that they would continually like try to undermine some of the wrestlers. You don't agree with that, or?
I never thought Jay Strongbow was doing it too much. I always thought just the opposite. I thought Jay Strongbow was he had a really keen eye. Jay Strongbow was the kind of guy that you watch every night and you never thought he was watching. And one night you had a shitty match or you didn't give a good effort, he'd come back to the dressing room and go, tell you that was the shits. And you'd always be like, yeah, you know he was right. I thought, I don't really concur with that so much. I don't think Chief usually got his orders. There's sometimes 9 different finishes, so you got to make sure that guys don't repeat themselves. You don't want somebody using the sharpshooter 2 matches before I'm using it and stuff like that. I think it was all pretty straightforward. Maybe I could see what he's saying, but I don't remember that so much in the WWF because they were too smart to do that kind of stuff. And I never thought Chief, he just basically was taking the orders that Vince gave him, and I think he was always pretty
Stand up.
Yeah, it always was important to him to see that the best show went out there.
Right.
I think what Honky's saying might reflect more on territories like my dad's territory, where someone like my brother Bruce, I keep not knocking my brother Bruce, but it seemed like every night was a 20-minute Broadway because he got there late and didn't know what else to tell the first match. So it's almost guaranteed the first match was a 20-minute Broadway. You could tell Bruce, Goldie Rogers, and Randy Weber have done a 20-minute Broadway for the last 4 weeks in a row. Like, come on, do something different, So I can see where that can be a situation, but I don't remember too often in WWF.
Did you find that when house shows were still going on, when there still was a lot and there was TV, how you would have like a 5-10 minute TV match and then a 20-25 minute house show match with the same guys at the same time? Did you think that kind of exposed the business a little bit?
A little bit. Coming from my dad's territory, I had a hard time adjusting to the TV squash matches and stuff. Like when somebody sent me in the ring, I remember my first matches I got sent. I was working with Dynamite Kid, I think against Mike Sharp, and somebody was you can't go over 4 minutes, 5 minutes for the intros. And I'm thinking, how the hell can you have a match in 5 minutes with Mike Sharp and so-and-so, And I got where I, worked around that and, we just figure out ways to do it really fast and just keep it really basic and stuff like that. But it never made any sense to me at all.
Right.
And I had a hard time with that. I'm sure Owen had a hard time with that because we grew up in a territory where nobody ever heard of a 4-minute match. I never had a match in 4 minutes. All the years I worked for my dad. I could make whoever the lowest jobber, I could go 15 minutes with it anyway and make it look like a battle.
Right.
And coming from the territory the way I did, it was hard for me to do that.
You wrestled a lot as babyface and some as a heel. What did you find adjusting psychology-wise? What did you think was easier, being a babyface or a heel? And what did you prefer to do and had the most fun doing?
Well, I think I always have more fun being a heel. But the psychologies are just pretty straightforward. Babyface needs to be the underdog, needs to fight back, needs to
Fiery comeback.
A good fiery comeback and show a lot of emotion. Facials are important. Have a lot of intensity. And as far as being a villain goes, you want to be very punishing, very vicious, and ruthless in a sense. When I was at the Hart Foundation, I used to liken the Hart Foundation when we were really working over, especially TV job guys and stuff. I always give them a little bit. It doesn't do good just to take 100%. But I mean, once you started really working somebody over, whether it was S.D. Jones or somebody, I always sort of like to think it was like a couple lions on a baby antelope or something like that. The more vicious and more people could draw that kind of comparison to, being really, really rotten sons of bitches. Like, I want to see these two guys get their shit kicked out of them in a minute from now. And finally, when Brian Blair can make that tag, he's going to get even. It's pretty straightforward. And then once they tag, Bunzel tags when he's in there, it's your responsibility to make him look like $1 million and satisfy all those people that want to see you get your, get your lumps. And there's both ways of looking at that. You can sell and sell and sell and do a great job, and then you can get your heat up and get your heat up and get your heat up, and then you got to return. You got to pay off and all this.
Now, you became a heel later on in your career. Was there anybody when you became heel that maybe you pat on yourself after, like from maybe the Stampede territory? When you look back on the old days, like the guys you wrestled, go, I want to be like that guy when I'm a heel.
Well, a little bit. I think. I believe that I was always my own character, but at the same time, I know that I patterned a lot of what I did in my early Hart Foundation heel days off Dynamite. And I did it in a way where I thought it was okay because he was a babyface and I wasn't taking anything from him. He wasn't going to be a babyface there. And at the same time, nobody had seen him. So I wasn't, one of the people watching me going, oh, he's just a copy of Dynamite. But I bore a lot of things from Dynamite in order to just the sort of cocky kind of thing I was in those times. But I don't think it's not just Dynamite. It's, I always had a strong fascination with Sweet Daddy Siki as a kid, and the sunglasses and stuff. I always found myself kind of being like him in a way. I don't know, just a lot of little guys. Not a lot of little guys. A lot of little things from different guys that sort of make up a character, and you can take what works for you best.
Do you find it as a heel, the smaller you are, the harder it is to get over as a heel? Or that's not true?
It can be, but I mean, depends what kind of heel you are.
Right.
I was a small heel, but I mean, I have to make up for it by working really hard and being really aggressive and making people believe that, you were pretty vicious.
Who was the best heel you ever saw?
Me. Dynamite Kid was a great heel. Archie the Stomper Goldie was a great, big heel.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Schultz was a great heel. Dr. D. David Schultz. If you watch Dr. D. David Schultz in his heyday, he was Steve Austin before anyone ever heard of Steve Austin.
What do you say to, or what do you think of when you see a young guy trying to be a heel and the first thing he does is just goes out there and yells at the crowd with all the cheap heat and everything? What could you tell a guy like that?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I used to always, the little things that make things real in the rest of the match. Like I can remember getting in the referee's face, even when it was just a show I put on, the fast count. It's 1, 2, you're counting slow and you get up, go nose to nose with the referee. Mm-hmm. The people watching think that's real. Like they go, it's an example of your temperament and stuff like that. People, I always patted myself after McEnroe a lot, the tennis player. When he used to get mad at those
at the calls, hot-headed.
That's where I got a lot of my stuff in the beginning, and I loved how he used to get pissed off if this one was over the line, and he'd get so hot and be such a dickhead about it. And I implemented a lot of that. And,
is there any other small little tricks you could tell a wrestler to do that's not obvious, like a cheap heat kind of thing that he could do in the match that a person wouldn't necessarily think? You know what I mean, off the bat.
Well, there's nothing wrong with playing off somebody in the crowd. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're walking around the ring and you wrap somebody's leg around the post and some kid's giving you the finger, you can get in his face. So you don't touch him, but don't leave yourself open to lawsuits and things like that. But I mean, the more you interact with that little old lady in the front row, or you pick one person, or little things that will trigger other people around that person and trigger the rest of the audience. Sometimes it's just, don't never forget that the audience is part of the show too. And you can use that to your advantage. You don't have to you don't have to use the fans, but I mean, sometimes just a little thing like, just, I don't know how many matches I had where I allowed one fan to think that he really did, ruffle my feathers and was getting kind of like his booing or his
got under your skin,
getting under my skin for real, and then I'm kicking the rope and getting mad, and I guess there's ways to do it and little things they're all telling a story. You got to take yourself sometimes and remove yourself from the match, put yourself in the top seat up in above or in the front row, and watch yourself in your head and go. There's all kinds of little things that play themselves out through the match. The referee, it's so important to utilize the referee and make sure that he's respected, and at the same time, just little things like the counts. Even if you can make it where you think like a 1-2 and you think it was really close, I used to always get up and go, "Come on," and get in the referee's face. But I mean, just doing that little thing. When you do that enough times, where people understand that when you have a close call, you're going to get in the referee about it, and then you do, that allows the guy behind you to maybe come up, not all the time, but sometimes to maybe come up and roll you up from behind for a pin or something for suspense. Little things that you leave loose ends a lot of times that will pay off somewhere else down the road.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.